What's up, everybody? We are indeed going to spend some time winning today, I think. I think winning is on the agenda for all of us. We're going to talk today about the importance of psychedelic research and advancing psychedelic research and gaining momentum and traction with mainstream acceptance, and the integration of cryptocurrency into what I call the conscious revolution movement, the concept of empowering individuals that are doing the kind of work that we need to see happen around the world in order to mitigate the effects of the impending chaostrophe that we're all facing. Let me see if I can do anything about this glare. The sun's not even out, so I'm not really sure why that's a thing. Isn't the jungle beautiful, you guys? There's all kinds of big birds flying around, making all kinds of crazy noise. Yeah, right on, man. I guess the first order of business is to talk about psychedelic research and why it's so important and how it works. And I think part of the issue with gaining traction is that it's actually so efficacious for so many applications that it sort of defies belief. And I think that if people take the time to actually look at the neuroscience behind how psychedelics actually work, how the brain works, and developing an understanding. I just saw a study published today, actually from Berkeley, on 5-MeO-DMT, and apparently Berkeley, not Berkeley, the Ivy League school or the music school, but Berkeley, it's like an institution that does psychedelic research, and one of the institutions that would potentially benefit from the cryptocurrency the cryptocurrency that we're going to premiere the interview that I did, the AMA, with the dev team, who is absolutely amazing. Thanks, man. Actually, absolutely amazing people. Yesterday, the website went up, the new website, and it's great. But 2:30 in the morning, I'm in the middle of a psychedelic experience, sending these guys messages like, "Hey, I think you might have missed a comma," and so they're answering me at 2:30 in the morning. Basically, is the point. But back to Berkeley. They just released a study that was done with 5-MeO-DMT, which is in this case, it's actually a byproduct of burning 5-HO-DMT, which is bufotenin, which is the least psychedelic and the most toxic of all the forms of DMT. That's what is mostly occurring in the wilca seed and the yopo seed and the toad. And so when it's burned, it's actually, it evaporates as 5-MeO-DMT. And so the paper that they published tells us that you can cut therapy time down for pretty much any trauma or any kind of psychological aberration, addiction, depression, whatever it is, super dramatically. And I think that it's really important for us also to take note of the fact that this is why psychedelics were actually banned in the first place. Because if you are able to take people out of therapy, you are able to cut them off or to mitigate the need for the antidepressants and the other psych meds that they might be taking, the benzodiazepines, all of these compounds. You're threatening a number of industries. And so I think it's really important that we get this information out there, that you share these studies with people that you maybe on the fence about psychedelics or may benefit from them, but they might have stigma attached to the idea, antiquated perceptions that are not serving them and are not serving the greater good. And while we're on the subject of the greater good, I think that one of the best reasons to support psychedelic research is that psychedelics are efficacious for such a wide spectrum of applications. So you have, depression, addiction, PTSD, Even more extreme aberrations like psychopathy, um, neuropathy. In fact, psilocybin is actually the only compound that has ever demonstrated the capacity to rejuvenate damaged or dead brain cells. They're actually working at Johns Hopkins right now to resuscitate totally brain dead people that have been totally unresponsive to any other attempt or any other means or mechanism that might wake them up and help them to repair their damaged brains. And the mechanism behind that we'll get to, but okay, so we have all of these different, basically any psychological problem that you can conceive of, psychedelics can help with because of the way that they work neurobiologically, neurochemically. And again, we'll get to that in a second, but that's not the whole story with the repatterning of the brain. And this is, I have to be honest, and I'm not trying to detract from the value of psychedelic research, but the issue that I have with bringing this stuff into like the pharmaceutical industry and the mainstream is that they're already trying to make non-psychoactive versions of these compounds. And I don't think that we're going to find the same level of efficacy. For basic, like conscious neuroengineering, I guess would be a good way to put it. Sure, I mean, I'm not saying that it's going to render them ineffective. In fact, I know that's not true, but it's not just the ability for psychedelics to enhance the brain's capacity to repattern. It's also something about the experience that tends to have an effect on people that makes them more environmentally aware, socially conscious. When people dropped LSD in the 60s, famously, they were all out protesting the Vietnam War. I think that with the current political situation, and again, I don't like either party, so I'm not trying to take sides here. I'm just saying that Republican or Democrat, when I see President Biden, blither incoherently and half of it's racist, and a bunch of people cheer and say, "Thank God we've gotten rid of this racist," the orange racist, it's truly frightening. And psychedelics are one tool that we have to address that. And I think, again, that's one of the reasons they were banned. They have this capacity to snap people out of their indoctrination, out of their program, to dissolve the boundaries, the selective perception. There is better communication across different regions of the brain. And so I think that facilitates a kind of awakening where people are, you have more brain activity. There's electrical activity in parts of the brain it's never been observed otherwise. And I think these things are so powerful and incredible that it's a little bit difficult for a lot of people to really wrap their heads around the implications of some of these things. When you have the ability for the subconscious and conscious mind to just freely communicate, this is not something that happens during REM sleep. This is not something that happens during meditation. Very, very little. It is increased during meditation according to brain scans, but nothing like what psilocybin and other psychedelics are capable of. And so, for example, that was really the goal of Jungian analysis, to establish that holistic mind in the individual, again, threatening to industry because it negates the need for a middleman. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't have therapists involved and that there doesn't necessarily need to be a guide, but to an extent, it does mitigate that need in the hands of a person that is competent to, and that's something that develops as well. I think that it is very possible for people to take control of their own healing. Most of the shaman here in South America, the good ones, will tell you that eventually stop coming to see them. Become your own shaman now. Like, you know how to navigate the psychedelic space. You know what you need to deal with. And you just need to listen to the medicine, or you listen to your mind, however you want to think about it, and take the steps that are necessary to implement the changes that are going to result in the sorry, my son's screaming. I don't think it's a problem. He's in this phase of just yelling a lot, and I'm never sure if it's like a bullet ant has bitten him or if he's just squawking, but I think he's just squawking. Mama's down there anyways. Okay, so what we were talking about, what I'm really trying to drive home is that when you support psychedelic research, you are supporting the anti-war movement. You're supporting the environment indirectly. You're supporting sociological advancement. You are contributing to, in my opinion, the overall conscious evolution of the entire human race. You are supporting advancements in therapies that, according to one of the researchers at Johns Hopkins University recently, his name is escaping me at the moment, he said, "It is simply unprecedented in the history of psychiatry that a medicine can produce some such lasting and wide spectrum effects, oftentimes in a single dose." So, I mean, these researchers are literally saying, like, we have never had a tool like this in the history of psychiatry. So this is something that we really have to come to terms with. The people, you know, the hippies in the 1960s, I don't see like a wave of apologies going out to all the old hippies right now, and there should be, because they were definitely right that these compounds, you know, have an extraordinary capacity to affect the kind of changes that we need to see in order to progress as a society and to heal our lineage and to move forward collectively and individually. And so, wide spectrum. I mean, the way I think about supporting psychedelic research is it's like if you throw a rock at a windshield and you get that spidering effect. That's kind of the what you're getting by supporting this one single area. And so enter cryptocurrency. And this is equally important because what we have had historically, I guess, is a counterculture, or you know, the peace movement, or you know, people that are outside of the box thinkers they become disenchanted with the normal means and methods of making a living. You know, I saw a poll recently that said that like 90% of people polled hate their jobs, and they used a much more polite way to say it, but that's what it meant. You know, people are becoming totally disenfranchised, and it's really good. You know, I mean, a lot of people are figuring out ways. My partner has a relative that I think used to kind of judge us for living such a freewheeling lifestyle, and I overheard a conversation a week or so ago where she was talking about how, you know, she's just so thrilled that COVID destroyed her job and gave her this opportunity to go out and create her own business and make her own rules and decide when she's going to work for herself. And so, you know, it's like the Chinese character for crisis, or danger and opportunity combined into one character. And so, you know, COVID has impacted us. But it has also compelled me to develop to acquire new skills, to adapt, to grow, to change, and to you know, create a bunch of different streams of income. How many of them will pan out in the long run, we're still waiting to see. But these are all very positive effects, and along comes cryptocurrency with this very serendipitous kind of timing. And I know it scares a lot of people. It's hurt us. It's the volatility of it, the unpredictability. But I have been watching. I haven't been involved. We haven't really had any money, so it's mostly a matter of just like watching charts and doing a ton of research. But I have had a lot of experiences. I've learned a tremendous amount. And I can tell you with some degree of certainty that as long as you can ride out the periods of volatility, everything eventually, you know, it's like the overall trajectory is definitely up, and there's still a ton of upside. There's a lot of FUD, which is fear, uncertainty, and doubt. In case you're an outsider to the crypto community, that may be a term used in regular investment. But it really is an unprecedented tool on the level of psychedelics in the area of finances. And one of the recent advancements that cryptocurrency has made that I think is so important, or the most powerful aspect of it, well, there's a couple of things. The advent of charity coins and the increasing popularity of them. I mean, you guys, like I said, I sit around and watch the charts all the time. It's incredible the amount of money that moves through these things. I was just gonna look at one real quick here and see, like, I mean, there's this like really terrible shit coin here that's done about $20,000 worth of business in the last 15 minutes, and it's like the most ghetto thing I could find. So if you have a charity token that is giving 7% to a charity, the numbers are incredible. And so as long as you are savvy, you have to develop a basic skill set. This is not something that you can just kind of like fumble into, which, you know, I can be kind of cocky, I guess, and I totally thought that I was going to do that. And it was definitely has been bumpy. But as long as you develop your skill set first and figure it out, make sure you know what you're doing. Maybe, you know, take some time to do some test runs, learn to read charts, you know, don't just, I mean, intuition is powerful and important, but it's definitely not the whole story. You know, and there are checklists that you guys have to know how to evaluate these projects to see if they're rug pulls, to see if they're scams, which, by the way, is another reason that I am so, I'm supporting the safe DMT currency so wholeheartedly, is that I know with absolute certainty that these guys are not a scam, and that they are super enthusiastic and sincere about the purpose behind their currency. They're definitely not trying to make just trying to make money. You know, I've spent hours talking to them, all of them actually, at this point, at least 3 or 4 hours in just group conversations, and there's no doubt about their enthusiasm and dedication. And I mean, in an industry that, you know, right now it's hot, it's hard to fail, really. So when you have that much enthusiasm and you have a purpose that really suits the collective gestalt of the moment, I think it really is an extraordinary opportunity, especially considering, I don't have it up, but I think the market cap is at like 20,000, which, by the way, hurry up and go buy your safe DMT if you're going to, because it's gonna skyrocket, it's gonna shoot up, it's gonna moon, as they say in the trade. And if you don't get in there before that happens, then you're gonna be too late. And if you get in when it's really low, of course, your gains are astronomical and ridiculous. So now is the time, you guys, to get into a micro cap like this, that in my opinion is gonna explode the way that I anticipate this one to, is increasingly rare. And to be able to get into a micro cap and know that you have peace of mind, that it's not a rug pull and it's not a scam, and it is actually doing good work in the world. I mean, this is unheard of opportunity at the moment. It's definitely the only one that I'm aware of. So yeah, definitely jump on that. But I did get off track a little bit. One of the innovations that I really, really excited about is the NFT platforms and the ability for people to create their own tokens. And what I foresee happening is a sort of something akin to, you know, there are these blockchain social media platforms now where people are paid in cryptocurrency for the content that they create, just for views. So, and it's not ad driven. It's not ad driven, so you just get paid if people look at your stuff, right? So the next, the logical extension of that, and this is being developed by what is the name of the student coin is one. There may be others where people are going to be able to design their own currency. So if you're somebody that supports me, by the way, which I very much appreciate, you guys hit that like button for me and smash the subscribe button. And if you really, really, really want to help out, you can go, well, actually, if you just want to learn about ritual magic and shamanism and maybe have some FaceTime and see if I can help you suss anything out, the Patreon link is in the description. And also we have a cryptocurrency, Zelle and PayPal addresses that you can offer some support there, and we really do appreciate that. So another way that you can do that in the near future, and I actually have a name for the token and a plan for who it's going to benefit. And so individuals will have their own crypto. And so you'll be able to profit from supporting individuals. And I think that we've all seen the power of the profit motive. So, you know, I talk about syncretic traditions, and I talk about how the syncretism in your spiritual practice, as long as you have the critical thinking apparatus and the, you know, the ability to separate the wheat from the chaff, that you're going to be able to come up with much more powerful protocols or practices that are syncretic than any, you know, than just becoming a Buddhist or something. You know, somebody that has mastered Tibetan chanting and meditation and also smokes DMT is going to go way further, way faster, and way more safely than a person that does either of those. You know, a person that just smokes DMT or just meditates. And of course, you can take that a whole step further, and you can, you know, use certain elements of ritual magic even just as a meditation. And so when we are looking at our political problems and our socioeconomical diaspora, is that a good word for it? I mean, I can think of all kinds of obscene or extreme language to use, but, you know, it's certainly not in homeostasis, I think would be fair to say. So that also is going to be resolved with syncretism. So you know, working for the benefit of the collective is not socialism just because it's part of a political platform, I guess you would say. So if we were able to take, you know, the best parts of capitalism and combine it with some socialism so that we don't have this pure, unadulterated system, I think that's really, how is smoking DMT good for you? Let me complete this thought, and I'll definitely try to answer that question. I mean, there's just so many levels and layers to the I mean, it's not just, you know, there's a lot to that. So, I mean, I'm sure you guys follow me. The idea that we could profit from supporting the environment, that we could profit from supporting research in areas that, I mean, it's not just psychedelics. There's a testicular cancer token that's been showing some promise. There, you know, are world hunger tokens, and people have become millionaires with, you know, 10 grand, and 7% of that went to feed people. There's never been anything like this in the history of capitalism or in the history of commerce, and it's the most powerful tool. So if you just think about the moment that we're in and how desperately we need some sort of like mega uber catalyst to compel our consciousness to catch up with the dire necessities of circumstance, and to fulfill them so that we can transcend the chaostrophe that we're drowning in. The tools that we need have presented themselves in mass, and the timing is exquisite. You know, and this is one of the reasons why, you know, I'm not a religious person, but I definitely believe that there's some kind of weird intelligence, there's some kind of symmetry, at least, in the underlying structure of the universe. I'll give you guys an example from earlier today, actually. The kind of crazy synchronicities that are just like so baffling that it's really hard to dismiss as pure chance. I saw a story this morning about a kid that was drowning, and this guy, this 27-year-old Hispanic guy, jumped into the water to save the kid, and unfortunately they all drowned. But then I went down to the river today, and there was a kid drowning, and some guy that was Hispanic, probably about 27 years old, had to jump in the river to save the kid. And like, I've never seen that before. You know, and it was just crazy. Like, it was like almost identical to this story that I read about this morning, and then I go and witness it an hour or something after seeing the story. And so I think, you know, that kind of stuff is, well, you know, you ask how is DMT good for you, and I would say that your ability to perceive that kind of the symmetry in creation in that way is enhanced. Okay, so did we satisfactorily wrap up? I mean, you guys understand, like, we are able to make money from supporting people and research that are essential and critical. We have the tools to change the world at our fingertips, you know, I mean, and this was such a huge problem in my mind so recently. I mean, I was, you know, just like driving around, riding the bus, thinking, man, we basically, because the power determines who has, or the money determines who has the power, how in the hell could we possibly move enough money fast enough to affect the kind of changes that we need to in such a short period of time in order to turn this heavily torpedoed ship around? And they're just suddenly there, is how it appears. Which is no surprise to me. If you follow my channel and you know why, it's not really I mean, that's not true. And it's really important to stay surprised, you know, that it never gets old. These kind of like miraculous serendipities and synchronicities, it's really important to stay connected to that. And once you are connected to it, that's what, when people talk about the hill and valley experience of the mystic, if you lose your connection to that once you've had it at some point, then that's the dark night of the soul, and it's a rough time. You don't want that to happen. So the DMT thing, someone asked, how is DMT good for you? It's definitely not bad for you. I think it's 550 grams for a 150-pound male to overdose and die, like a LD50. So that's pretty much impossible. I mean, you couldn't really consume that much DMT. I mean, even inject, you couldn't really do it. And I've searched high and low on Google. I've spoken with other people that have done the same thing, and there does not appear to be a single instance of anyone being seriously injured or hurting themselves or going crazy and killing people or any of this kind of shit that routinely happens with people that are on SSRIs and different institutionally sanctionalized medications. So that's, you know, another thing to take note of. I think that our culture definitely endorses things that are demonstrably and undeniably more dangerous than these compounds. That there are still kids sitting in prison for decades for possessing small amounts of DMT and LSD, which, you know, as it turns out, are not only not anywhere near as harmful as we had been told, but they are like the most beneficial substances that psychiatrists are aware of. And so you got to go. Nope. Come on, Toby. Let's go. Sorry, this dog is an idiot. I can't have him. Come on, Toby. Toby. Okay, sorry about that. I have all this stuff laying around and the dog is young and he will destroy it all. So what were we talking about? DMT. What we didn't get to earlier when we were talking about psychedelic research is that what we have been able to discern so far is that most of the, I guess, pharmacological efficacy is facilitated by the neurogenesis, which is the brain, new neurons and new neural pathways form 100 times as fast. 100 to 1,000, I think, are the numbers. There's a lot of I don't know what the word is. There's a lot of variance, I guess, depending on dosage and the individual. So that's a big deal. And then and then the neuroplasticity is at least as important. And this, when you have patterns in your mind, addictions are a great example. The longer they have been imprinted, the more rigid they become. And with age, also, the brain becomes less neuroplastic and more rigid. And so DMT, psilocybin, LSD, ibogaine, ketamine even, I would imagine MDMA, although I haven't actually looked for any clinical data on that, they all enhance neuroplasticity to a surprising degree. Researchers at Princeton said that a 55-year-old brain returns to the neuroplasticity of that of a 5-year-old during LSD. And so your ability to learn, retain information, well, right on, man. How do you feel? You say you smoke DMT every day this week. Have you lost your mind yet? Did you kill your neighbors? I didn't think so. Yeah, and that's another myth. You know, people say that, and I'm not advocating that people should go out and just take psychedelics every day. Feeling great. But it is true that if you're of sound mind, you will not just suddenly become psychotic. This doesn't happen. The only way that psychosis is triggered by psychedelics is if you're already predisposed to mental illness. Otherwise, you can consume psychedelics in whatever quantity you like. Obviously, if it gets in the way of your sleep schedule or your job, then you're being dumb and you need to get a hold of yourself. But honestly, most people are not really inclined to abuse psychedelics. And this is really incredible to me. Most of them, of which I'm aware, ketamine is an example, but it's sort of difficult to abuse LSD, for example, because it requires a like 48-hour reset, and you have to double the dose, and it still doesn't really work as well. So it's almost like it has this built-in mechanism that sort of neutralizes the inclination to abuse, or at least your capacity to even overuse it, because it just stops working. And also there are ceilings. You'll hear a lot of stories about people taking too much LSD and tripping for days and weeks. All of those people are lying, or they're delusional or something, because people just like to make up stories. And this is something that, while we're on the subject, I should mention. There's probably no single subject of which I'm aware that there is more bad information and more people that just make stuff up. That, I mean, I think, I don't know what it is. Like, maybe they think that everyone else is just making stuff up too, so everyone does it, no one will know or something. I don't really understand, but there's just so much bad information out there and so much bullshit. The reality is that there are now like 12 to 15 cases of people snorting LSD crystals, thinking that it was something else, like MDMA or cocaine. And LSD is measured in micrograms. So if you're doing rails of LSD, they estimated these people did about 20,000 micrograms, which is a insane quantity. I mean, I don't know what, let's see, 100 micrograms, 1,000 micrograms in a 10 strip, 10,000 micrograms. So like 2 sheets of average street acid. And all of them were back to baseline within 8 to 12 hours, and at least 10 of them, they checked in 5 years later, and none of them had suffered any long-term problems. None of them had a flashback. In fact, researchers are telling us now that flashbacks aren't really real, that it's thoroughly debunked. And that's the thing about thumbprint stories too. The ceiling is about 2,500 micrograms. So that's one of the reasons these people just had these, like fairly manageable experiences considering the quantity that they took. You can only go so far, and it just washes through your system. I think it's because like you only have so many neurotransmitters. Once they all have a chemical sitting in them, you can't really add anymore, and it just washes through. So yeah, I've heard thumbprint stories, man. I'm an old Deadhead. I've been around that scene. I mean, the Grateful Dead family people used to, like, if you wanted to buy acid from them in large quantities, they would take your phone from you, throw it off a cliff, take off their belts. So they had this giant Grateful Dead belt buckles ready to smack you in the head with it. And you had to put your thumb in the crystal LSD and then lick it. or they would smack you in the head with their belt and throw you off the cliff, you know, because the penalties for LSD are so terrible. And the reason that they would do that is that no one can lie on 2,500 micrograms of LSD. The point is, though, that there's just no point. You know, you have, yeah, it's a real thing. The Grateful Dead family, Grateful Gangsters, they called them. I mean, they're not affiliated with the band in any way, shape, or form. It's just like a criminal hippie syndicate. You know, that 50 years of Dead tour definitely created some serious drug markets and some big players. So it doesn't matter if they're hippies, they're going to be dangerous people. All right, so we have just a few minutes until the premiere of the Safe DMT interview. I don't know, maybe some of those guys will be available during the premiere if they see if any of them dial on. I'll be there to answer questions. One thing I can tell you guys is that if you're going to buy Safe DMT, you have to, the last digit of the amount that you're buying, you have to change to a 1 or a 9 on Pancake Swap, and that's always the case with small micro caps. When it gets bigger, it won't be the case anymore, but you guys need to hurry up and go over there and buy it, because when it hits $1 million, you know, you're gonna make a lot less money. So, and just to put it in perspective, you know, I think see if I might have it up here. No, I mean, it was just a little while ago. It was $22,000 market cap. So if it hits 5 million, I'm terrible at math, but that's a shit ton of money. What, 25x or something? And that's pretty small. So, you know, I mean, 50 million, I think, is like a medium market cap. Don't quote me on that, but I wouldn't be surprised if over time it was able to hit a number like that. So, you know, I mean, Safe Moon is like, what, like 5 billion or 4 billion or something now. So it's still, you know, even huge relative to where it's sitting is totally realistic. And it's a really good cause and a really great team. You know, I am a small holder, so you're supporting me, even you're supporting yourself, you're supporting psychedelic research, and all of those things are important. So, do you guys have any more questions? Because otherwise, I'm going to take a minute to get a drink of water and chill out before the next round of stuff. All right, well then, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys again soon. Please do hit the like button, share, subscribe, support us on Patreon, or the Binance Smart Chain wallet address in the description, or the PayPal or the Zelle. We really do appreciate it. How soon is it starting? 7 minutes, I think. Something like that. Pretty quick.